This video got long because I talk about my process of starting vegan, but stick with it, the recipe is awesome. Hey there YouTubers, it is time for another cooking video, and I'm going to try to give you an intro here on what's going on. I am slowly trying to transition to eating more and more vegan. Maybe one day I might be a full-fledged vegan. I don't know yet. If you don't like vegan food, I understand. I didn't think it was the greatest thing to start with. But I gotta tell you, I'm really at a point where I'm excited because all these things taste really, really good, and it's exciting to learn new things. Now, if you're a vegan and you happen to be a member of the vegan police, I'm gonna make mistakes. Now, this meal here is fully vegan. There's no animal products whatsoever, and I'm gonna try to tell you everything that's in here. What we're making is, I had this before, and we're making a double batch of gyro meat. And does it taste exactly like a gyro? No. Does it taste? But it tastes fantastic. It is really, I really like it. This is very good. So again, this is a double batch, and I'm going to try to go through all the ingredients that are in here. First, you got about a cup of onions. Then this is vegetable broth, but it's not really vegetable broth. We use that vegan Better Than bouillon. We use that. This is 3 cups of vital wheat gluten, and down in the description I'll do the best to give you the entire recipe. The other dry ingredients are, this is 4 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, back here hiding in the corner, 1 teaspoon of pepper, 2 teaspoons of oregano. This one here is 1 teaspoon of rosemary. Over here we got fancy Himalayan salt, not that kosher stuff, Himalayan salt, 3 teaspoons of that, and we have 2 teaspoons of cumin, and this is 2 teaspoons of thyme. So that's the dry ingredients, and those are all going to get mixed first, and the other stuff goes in. Here we have 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Try to do this unlike my normal cooking where I just slop stuff together. I think as I'm trying to learn the vegan stuff, measuring things is more important. You're kind of like bacon where you have to have the right measurements. Next, 4 tablespoons of tahini. This is a small can of tomato paste, and this was 6 tablespoons. That looks like soy sauce, doesn't it? It might be 4 tablespoons of soy sauce. This is the only thing that I really did. Well, no, I did the onions too, but this is 4 cloves of garlic minced finely. And then over here on the end, trying to hide, we have, I don't know what it is, I'm gonna have to ask, 4 tablespoons of lemon juice.
Freshly squeezed.
Freshly squeezed. Again, not by me. So as you see, when you're trying to learn to do vegan, it's different than grabbing a slab of meat and just slathering it with stuff. You have to build stuff. And what I'm finding so far is all these things taste really good, and you mix them up together, and guess what? They taste really good, and no animals were hurt in the process. And if it tasted like junk, as I've said before as I'm trying to make this transition, if it didn't taste good, I wouldn't want to, and I don't think most people would want to eat it. I'm not going to eat a can of beans every day so that the chicken doesn't get hurt. But if I can eat really good food and have the benefits of, as I said, and also in the past, I recently had a doctor's visit, and I, like most Americans, suffer from some cholesterol and triglyceride issues, and a month of this diet has drastically improved my health. I feel better, the food tastes good, and as I said when I opened this up, I'm excited about the new flavor stuff. So that's the opening, that's the stuff we're going to use, part of the stuff we're going to use today to cook today's meal. We'll be back. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to start mixing, and again, I'm new. I didn't do much of this prep stuff, but I really want to try to learn to do it. So first we're going to do all the dry ingredients. They go into the pot, no particular order. And obviously you're trying to do this nice for YouTube and show you stuff. Normally you just put the stuff in there. Now we're going to mix this up a little bit until somebody off camera tells me to stop. I'm told that's good. Now we're going to start putting the wet ingredients in. We'll do the vegetable broth. See how much extra work is being done? Not only am I learning, I'm the one that's going to do all these dishes. And these dishes were done for your benefit. All this extra work. All right, we're back from my technical error. Took a long trip yesterday and I forgot to empty the GoPro's memory card. Onion. Now the other thing, being new at this, is I have to learn a lot. It's just a different way of doing stuff. But again, that's what's kind of exciting about it. And then goes the tomato paste. Now it is time for me to mix, and we're just gonna mix and mix and mix. What I'm told we did because we were nervous about making a video was should have combined all the liquids together and then dumped them in. All right, it's just gonna make it harder to mix this all in, but I am persistent and I will do it. What's time for me to do is wash these hands of mine and use my hands, because as my grandmother always told me, you cook with your hands. Side ramble. My grandmother never, that I saw, well, I shouldn't say never, hardly ever used measuring anything. She knew how much it was in the palm of her hand. That's how she did stuff. That's old school stuff. Doesn't really bode well to tell you when you're making recipes on the internet that just the palm of your hand.
I'm going to give you just a little more because I feel like that's a little bit wet. And that's where the skill of making stuff comes into play.
And you heard all that. Sometimes you got to go by feel and look, and you can tell that you might need a little bit more or something, a little bit. Maybe you got too much of something else and you have to counteract it with a little bit more of something. More. So maybe we use another 2 tablespoons.
Yep.
Would be a good guess from the original recipe. That's the trick of cooking. You can follow an exact measurement, and still every now and then you need to tweak it. Like I remember living at altitude. I lived in Denver. You had to tweak a lot of things because of the altitude.
Making seitan is a little bit like making bread.
Okay.
You know, because it's gluten, and gluten is what, kneading bread is what makes the gluten form. So that's why you're kneading. You want to basically create the gluten to get tougher. I don't know the science behind it, but...
Okay, YouTubers. Normally, I would restate everything you heard because the person next to me is shy about this, but I think it was said so well and she sounded so awesome and deserves the credit for this being her and not me that I'm leaving that in.
And there you got it. That's how you knead. You fold.
Right.
Yep. And you know the recipe said to knead for a minute, but I have typically, when I make seitan, knead longer than that.
Okay.
Otherwise your seitan is soft and it doesn't have that feel like meat, you know, that meatiness.
Okay.
That's kind of firm.
That's staying in there too. And I will also say, as I'm doing all this rambling, I've been eating a lot of vegan stuff, and I have to say I really want to learn seitan because of everything I've eaten. We're out of frame a little bit. Of everything I've eaten, it's the most meat-like texture of the things I've had. And for being a new vegan, or whatever I am, I like the familiar. And that goes back to the vegan police. Some vegan police say, don't try to recreate stuff that you've eaten your whole life. Well, I think that's exactly how you should do it. Now, if you get to the point after a while that you want to do complete plant-based diet where you don't use anything that's processed, well, that's fine. I think to make the transition, anybody wanting to try vegan stuff, having the familiar taste profile and things and texture, definitely texture for me, is very important. So we think that's done now. I'm gonna take another one of those breaks and we'll be right back. All right, now since we're back and we're making a double loaf, I'm gonna try to cut this equally in half by eyeballing it. That wheat gluten, that's pretty cool. I've never done this part before. I've eaten this, but I've never been here. It gets stringy and it's cool. So there's that one. There's that one. Do they look? This one might need a little bit more. That is sort of like making bread, so you're kind of trying to make a loaf. A rectangle.
Yeah. And then flatten it 1 to 1.5 inches because it's almost going to rise when it's cooking.
So this has to get flattened to about 1 inch, 1.5 inches because, again, apparently as I'm learning, the references to bread continue because this is going to rise almost like a loaf of bread would rise, which makes sense because it has wheat gluten in it. And obviously if you have celiacs and can't do gluten, this is not something for you. So we're calling that one good. Now you said it's like bread that it's gonna puff up.
It will.
Being this tight in here, is it gonna rip it?
Nope, but it'll bulge out.
Always put the seam side down when you're doing this. Like making a foil pack with potatoes. If you've watched my other videos, I do that a lot when I'm RVing. There's one of them done. Now I got to do the other one. Do you want to watch it? Probably not. I'll film it in case it comes out better than the other one, and I'll give you some emerald move where look how perfect it came out. If the lighting isn't perfect as well, many of you have gotten used to, I don't have a fancy setup to do cooking videos. Most of you don't either, so we're here trying to help each other and learn some stuff and be cool so we don't have to expect everybody to be Steven Spielberg and stuff, you know? Just try to get the message of the video. And if it's that bad for you, you can't watch it. I understand. I showed a picture in a previous video, just a couple pictures of eating this when it was already done, but I wanted to show you making it, and as a selfish person, there's going to be times where I'm going to have to be able to do this by myself. So I believe I will refer to my own video to remember how to do this. I like you all out in YouTube land, but it's not all about you. Okay, there's double. And you can freeze this when after it's cooked. You can freeze this and use it again, and that's probably what we're going to do. But we had all the stuff to make it, and both like it, so figured might as well just make enough. Then you get a day where you don't have to cook. All right, there'll be more to this video in a bit. All right, here's what it looks like when it's going to go into the oven, and it's going to go into the oven for 1 hour and 10 minutes at 350 degrees. So I could cook this in my New Wave Mini as I'm traveling in the highways and byways of America in my RV, because that's as high as the New Wave Mini goes. So there we go, 1 hour and 10 minutes at 350 degrees, and then there'll be more. All right, now we're gonna make the tzatziki sauce for this. I'm gonna do a cup of finely minced cucumber. Some people like this, so I'm gonna leave it in. Okay, that's about a cup. It's you go vegan, it's a laborious process, but it's worth it. All right, so that's the cucumber. And now what we're gonna do, if you see these paper towels, I'm gonna put them in the paper towels and try to squeeze the water. Can I do them all? Squeeze the water out of them. Like that. Squeeze the water.
Turn it over. You could put it in a towel.
Wrap it up again. Squeeze more of the water out. Why do you do that? Because somebody who knows what they're doing tells you do that. Apparently you don't want all that water in there. It'll ruin you. We're making the tzatziki sauce. So that was a cup when we started, and now it's basically 3/4 of a cup, which is enough, which is good. Now we're going to move on. Now, what we're making now, this is cashew sour cream. And I've had this meal before, I think I said, and I think this is better than real sour cream. But it's one of those deals where what you really need when you do your raw cashews to grind them down is you kind of need a Vitamix. The way to get around that is to soak the cashews, boil them, and then you can use a regular blender and it's still going to be tough. So getting it down to this stage, a Vitamix does make things a lot better. All right, so here's how we're going to mix this. We're going to mix this right in here. I already told you about the cashews. We didn't make a double batch of this. We made a regular batch. 1 cup is in there. I'm going to put that cup of cucumber in there. This is how you make tzatziki sauce. The only thing difference is the cashews, right?
Yeah.
But making this tzatziki sauce isn't any different other than the cashew part from using regular sour cream and making tzatziki sauce. This is dried dill. Tablespoon of olive oil. Got a clove of garlic minced. And now in here we have half a teaspoon of dry oregano, half a teaspoon of onion powder, and half a teaspoon of salt. Again, that's that fancy Himalayan salt. That goes in there. And that's everything you need for the tzatziki sauce, except for half a tablespoon of fresh squeezed lemon juice. And you mix. I'm telling you, this tzatziki sauce is to die for. I am not lying that I think the cashew tzatziki sauce is better than any tzatziki sauce I've had normal. Ties it all together. And if you make extra of this, you can freeze it. You can, if you get bored one day and want to grind up all kinds of cashews and use it for many different things, you can freeze cashew once you grind it up. And that part is done. Checkmate, 2 thumbs up. We'll be back for more. So this is like, you know, when you help make cake and stuff like that, who gets to lick the blender, the batter? I get to lick this. Now we're going to make the pita bread. And what you've been seeing so far is me do it. I'm going to step back and let professional hands make the pita bread. All right, I want to take back my previous statement. I was told unless I wanted voted off the island, I will be making this. So these will be the hands making it. All right, now we have a half a teaspoon each of sugar and active dry yeast. This is a 1/4 cup of warm water. I'm going to pour these in here and I'm going to mix them. You let it sit for a few minutes. Apparently it's doing what it's supposed to. 2 cups of bread flour, half a teaspoon of salt. I'll mix it. I was forced against my will to make this because I am lazy and will most likely buy a pita bread from the store. But when we made it, it was so much fun. And I'm told it's not hard when you know what you're doing. If you look close, you can see it's foamy and kind of bubbly, meaning your yeast is alive and it's good and we can pour it in. I'm going to pour it in. Now we're going to go to the mixer and put the dough hook in. I'm learning new things. Then there's 3/4 a cup of water and it's going to get put in there slowly as it mixes. It'll get put in when I get told to put it in. Bump up 1 notch. We're going for fast. Whoa, look at that go. And now this has to run for 5 minutes. So that's what it's going to do. Here's the gyro meat is done. It puffs up quite a bit after you bake it. Again, it's very much like making bread. So what they say is you can let this rest for 10 minutes and then you can start slicing it. But really it should be rested longer. So we're going to let it cool and then put it in the refrigerator. So one of these is going to end up getting frozen and used later. But going to let it rest now. Smell the goodness. You can't smell it, but one day they'll make smell-o-vision. We put a little flour on the counter. Dump the dough out.
Give it a little knead.
Gonna knead it. Cut it into 4s.
I'm gonna do this.
Then I'm gonna do this. Mine's not working good, YouTube. I suck at this.
No, it's okay, because you're just gonna roll it out.
Does each one of these make 1? Should have made more. We should have made more. Getting laughed at, YouTubers. Making pita bread. Starting to puff up a little bit. Now it's puffing.
That should be good.
One more time. Puffing up nice. Starting to go, starting to puff. Here's another one real quick. All right. There's the meat getting cut. As thin as you can get it. It's like real stuff. It tastes so good. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, put them in a pan. Get them a little heat. And flip them. The texture's close too. It's wonderful. That's what makes it so amazing. All right, I'm going to take these out. Got more going in. This really is one of my favorite vegan meals now. And I've had so many good ones. So many others you're going to get to see if you choose to come back. Alright, that stuff is cooked. We're going to build sandwiches now. Put a little tzatziki to start with down in there. Hopefully you can see in there. This awesome meat gets stuffed down in there. So good, so good. Don't be afraid to get your hands in there. A little bit of lettuce. Lettuce in there. Cucumber. Some red onion. Bit of the meat shoved in there. Tzatziki on it. Yeah. Okay. That's one of them made. Get to make another half. Tzatziki. Cucumbers down in there. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Meat. Just as good as regular stuff. A bit more tzatziki. Onion. A bit of lettuce. I'm greedy because this is good. This, my friends, is a vegan gyro. Look at that. Thing of beauty. That is so good. I ain't lying one little bit. Never tried vegan? Try something like this. Maybe have it at a restaurant once where you don't have to do all the work. If you're a vegan and you haven't made this for yourself, you should make this because it's awesome. You know what it'll do? It'll make you have a great and wonderful day. All right, and of course I had to go back for seconds because this is frigging awesome. If you've been here before for regular non-vegan meals, fly over. Fly right into that bite I took. You'll have a great and wonderful day.